Live, trance, and prosper. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, howdy. I'm Dr. David Phillips, and welcome to KINKNOSIS. KINKNOSIS is just a funny, cute little way to describe non-vanilla erotic hypnosis. Okay, essentially today's webinar is about non-vanilla erotic hypnosis. Now, for vanilla erotic hypnosis, I've got lots and lots of stuff on my web pages. Some of you are familiar with my work in terms of eroticatrance and other erotic hypnosis for consenting adults. Okay, but today is KINKNOSIS, and so that's the not so vanilla stuff. I firmly believe that consenting adult partners in a relationship really ought to learn some erotic hypnosis. Now, therapists, of course, I think if you're a therapist, you should know how to induce a trance. You should know how to engage a person in hypnosis. And if they have sexual issues, either in the relationship or outside, you really need to understand how to help them. Now, in traditional hypnotherapy, there are a number of ways of doing that. And of course, I assume those of you who are viewers who are therapists have learned those techniques, whatever they are. Some of you are NELPers or NLP users. Some of you are use regression therapy. Some of you use this or that. It's really up to you what modalities. I strongly believe in the focusing paradigm, which is it's less about the specific technique that's used and more about the engagement of the intensified imagination between client and therapist. However, there are sometimes people come to you and they have issues, and you've gone through the blocks and you've gone through the emotional work and you've helped them therapeutically, and they still need to learn some things. For instance, they need to learn how to let go into their sexual feelings, how to recognize their sexuality, and to really just enjoy it. A lot of folks are down on Wilhelm Reich, and for good reason, but I strongly do agree with him that a lot of people's issues is they just don't know how to let go and enjoy the pleasure. Now, he put a lot of emphasis on the orgasm, which later became orgone energy, but that's a different issue. But the orgasm really is important, and honestly, a lot of folks don't know how to have one. Oh, sure, they have climax and they have ejaculation or the convulsions of multiple orgasm physically, but they don't really get the release that an orgasm brings emotionally. But that's a different seminar. I should make a note, make note of we really need a Reiki and orgasm, hypnotic orgasm workshop someday. Maybe I'll do one. It would be very worthwhile. But KINKNOSIS is that area of erotic hypnosis where you get past that. I think most folks, when they think of erotic hypnosis, they know about arousal, they know about orgasm. That's the number one request. And if you're not familiar with my views on this, just go elsewhere on my YouTube channel or go to my web pages, www.briandavidphillips.com or .net, and just type in arousal versus orgasm or orgasm versus arousal, and you'll see that while most folks who contact me are these guys who want to know, how can I make my girlfriend or wife or random strangers come on command, and that's it's really a different kind of thing. Arousal is definitely much more important. But for the vanilla stuff, the stuff that most folks interested in erotic hypnosis are interested in, please go ahead and check out my web pages at literally digital tons of information on my site, and a lot of it's free, folks. Some of it you pay for. I'm happy to accept your money. Yay! But please go ahead and check that stuff out. Let's get into KINKNOSIS, and I've made some notes. Just, it looked like a blank paper because of the lighting, I'm sorry. Wow! Okay, but there are notes here. I'm not Joseph McCarthy. I have here a list with a blank sheet of paper. But let's start with the premises of kinky hypnosis or explicitly erotic hypnosis. Okay? And I see we've got some folks coming in. We've got a bunch of viewers, and I'm getting some comments. Hi, Brian. Nice to see you. Great topic today from Evgeny and some others. Hi. But let's get to her. What are some of the premises that I operate under in terms of erotic hypnosis, particularly for kinky hypnosis? But honestly, some of this flows through all of my work, and my students at the university are aware with some of these presuppositions. The first premise, and this is a premise that I operate on all the time, not only in my hypnotic work or my explicit hypnotic work, but also in my work in communication, social influence, at the university teaching, as well as my church work, and that is, and hurt none, do what thou will. Whatever you want to do, just do it. Just make sure that you're not hurting anyone, that no one is harmed or damaged. Now, how do you do that? Well, you stick to the premise of safe, sane, and consensual. You keep all hypnotic interactions, particularly the explicit material, the kinky material, erotic material, well, just life. Keep it safe, sane, and consensual. Safe in that none are hurt. No one is harmed, okay? At least knowingly, and preferably not even accidentally. Keep everything safe. Sane, you don't do crazy crap, all right? Do you jump off a 4-story building with cardboard wings flapping, hoping to fly? No, you don't. So why would you give suggestions hypnotically that violate norms beyond the sane level? In metaphysical hypnosis, there are folks who have asked me, Dr. Phillips, ooh, you're so cute. Okay, that last part, I add that in my brain, but there are folks who will ask me things like, can you hypnotize me to go into hell? Well, okay, I can hypnotize you so you believe you're walking through the gates of hell and whatever you experience, but there are folks out there who have very specific views about what hell entails, and why the hell would you go to hell? So, and there are folks who do it. Actually, here in Taiwan, I know a woman who does that regularly with her clients. I do not recommend it. It is not what I would call a sane practice, metaphysical or otherwise. Okay? You don't twist things up and mess with people's minds. Keep it sane and consensual. Consent's really important, particularly for erotic hypnosis. And there are a whole lot of folks out there who advertise courses or products that teach you how to do erotic hypnosis. And some of them say things like, hypnotize any woman you meet. Within 10 minutes, she'll be begging for your man-thing, whether she wants it or not. Turn any person into your sex slave without their knowledge. Okay, this is hyperbole. This is advertising hyperbole where they're exaggerating their claims. And believe me, they're exaggerating. I've met a few of these guys, and they're not as gifted as they claim. Many of them, what they end up selling is just standard vanilla hypnosis. Actually, one guy, he advertises all sorts of erotic sex slave powers, and the course that he gives folks, or sells folks for a very exorbitant price for an ebook is it's actually just standard hypnosis. It's not even an erotic hypnosis text. But you have to caveat emptor. But safe, sane, and consensual, the consent part's really important to me. And when I talk about consent, I really mean informed consent. Informed consent is where the parties are aware of all parameters involved in the relationship and what's going to happen. So if you're going to go into erotic hypnosis or kinky, especially kinky hypnosis, because some folks are kind of borderline on some of the things they do, you really need to have informed consent. They know what sort of suggestions are involved, they're okay with those sort of suggestions, and they're ready to go. There is a type of pornography that's extreme porn. That's with the DNS, or actually more than that, the BND, the slapping and the chains and the sexual torture. But something some of those companies do, which is very worthwhile, they do a pre-interview of the girls who are going to star in this essentially torture porn, and they talk to them about what their limits are, what their safe words are. They talk about exactly what's going to happen and what they can expect. They run this, the girls are okay, they're happy to do it, or they're happy to be paid to do it, depending upon the person. Some of them are genuinely very happy to do it. Okay, you can't fake that level of enthusiasm. But they have consent, they have informed consent. Then they run the pattern, and they stick to what was agreed. And if someone is uncomfortable, they pull back. Okay? And that's important to remember. If someone's uncomfortable, you pull back. You allow them to stay within their comfort zones. Now, they can press their own comfort zones, but you really shouldn't push past those zones without informed consent. Another factor for informed consent is I meet a lot of folks who are in marital relationships who do swinging or want to swing. You'd be amazed at the number of people who contact me and ask, could you hypnotize my wife to let us swing? To which point I said, well, if she asks me to. But the thing about it is this. Sometimes people have consent to a relationship, but they don't have full consent. And so, for instance, if you are married and you have consent with a trans partner who's not your wife, well, that's all fine, as long as that person knows you're married. But also, your husband or wife should be aware of the relationship. So all persons involved in the relationship are okay with it. Now, some of you disagree with me, okay, and that's fine. I realize I am a fuddy-duddy. I'm kind of conservative about those things. I know it's weird. Dude, how can you be conservative on issues of any sort? You're wearing a Hawaiian shirt, you got your psychedelic t-shirt on underneath that sucker, you got the long hair and the beard. I'm pretty sure you're channeling the dude. Well, I love Lebowski. I really do. But even Lebowski has limits. And so I'm a big guy, so I'm channeling a big Lebowski. I'm not the big Lebowski, I'm just the dude. Actually, I'm Doc. I'm Doctor. But I strongly do believe in full informed consent, and I hope you do too. You're going to have a lot fewer problems with that. Let's start going through. I've rambled a bit for the premises. One more premise real quick. Sorry, missed one. The Quintillion Paradigm. And I'm very much a believer in the work, or at least the concepts put forth by Quintillion, who the Roman philosophers considered the father of rhetoric education. Yeah, I'm a professor. Come on, I'm pedantic. But one thing that Quintillion wrote, or said, was that the essence of rhetoric is a good man speaking well. And I believe hypnotists need to understand that too. Learn to be really good at what you do. learn hypnosis to have your skill sets down. Just rock those skills. All right, man, I can do this stuff. But you've got to have skills, but you also not only speak well, that is, use your skills well, you have to be a good person. And that implies that you use those skills to help others for their enjoyment and their betterment. You're not just in social influence. I tell my students, don't just learn this crap to manipulate others. Okay, we've got too many politicians out there, I won't name any, Paul Ryan, who use these kind of things to manipulate others. And we have too many businesses out there who take advantage of folks. They know how to manipulate. All right, and social influence is really easy to learn. I teach it. Go to my website, www.briandoverload.net. But you really need to be careful of what you're doing there. Okay, be a good person. All right, and I think it's really important. Be a good person, damn it. Don't be a dick. Okay, having said that, and your non-dickishness, let's get to the naughty stuff. There are a number of different pathways in which you can use erotic hypnosis. The vanilla stuff is to help with consenting adult relationships. It's pretty straightforward stuff. And even then you can go pretty far. And some folks consider what I consider to be vanilla to be pretty damn kinky, like the fantasy stuff and things like that. But for me, I'm pretty open and wild and all sorts. According to my family, I'm fucking weird. And I'm okay with that. I embrace it. Oh, hello. And I encourage you to embrace your inner fucking weirdness. But let's look at those paths. One of the major paths we see for kinky erotic hypnosis would be, of course, DS. D/big D/ little s, which is dominance and submission. And if you Google it, you're going to find lots and lots of stuff with hypnodoms and hypnodoms and hypnoslaves and all that stuff. Now, I just talked about consent and about respecting other people. But here's the thing. With hypnosis, if you're interested in power exchange fantasies as part of your sexual relationship. And a whole lot of folks do power exchange stuff in the bedroom who outside are incredibly different. I mean, if you look at bordellos in Japan, who are the #1 customers for folks who want to be spanked and treated like slaves, are business people, particularly CEOs. It's amazing how many CEOs of major companies like to be spanked and treated like dogs. Okay? And as long as they're doing that in an informed, consenting way, more power to them. Hypnosis can actually enhance that. It enhances the fantasy, it enhances the reality within the appropriate context. Okay? Now, it doesn't mean that you're grabbing people off the street. My English, you're so good. It doesn't mean you're grabbing folks off the street and you're mind fucking them. Okay, if you want to know about mind fucking, go to my site and type in mindfuck. By mindfuck, be sure you spell it right. It's MINDPHUCK. And you'll see my views there as well as some playfulness there. But if someone wants and they consciously consent to this kind of fantasy enactment, there's not a damn thing wrong with 50 Shades of Grey or 50 Shades of Black and Blue, depending upon what your things are into. But the hypnosis can increase that. If you go to my website, you look up the Xanadu series, you'll see a whole lot of experimental hypnosis audios I did years ago along these lines of consenting adult power exchange. All right, now power exchange in this way needs to be consensual. All right, big time. But you can go into hypnosis, lead someone into hypnosis, and you guide them into these kind of erotic feelings, suggestions of as you, I gotta watch out. Somebody says, you use covert hypnosis too much. No, I just talk about hypnosis and my voice drops. You're finding more and more with each and every breath that the more you think about my color upon your neck, the more wonderful that thought feels to you. And you notice that the feeling of that heavy collar on your neck sends a tingle into your nipples and down deep inside your pussy, where reality grows and truth relies, and you feel that warm wetness spreading. Ooh, that's nice. Or something along those lines, okay? You can also do, and you can do hypnotic collaring, where instead of an actual collar, that person feels the collar. They can place their hand upon their neck and they feel a collar or a brand or whatever. You don't need to brand people for real. You can actually do a hypnotic thing, which is really wonderful. But DNS is something that happens quite a bit, and it can be very delightful and very, very fun. Real quick, I want to make a note, and that is, as you watch the webinar now, I know some of you came in late, so you're on a late stream. YouTube actually, it kind of buffers the things, so when you come in, you get the very beginning. So you got the nonsense at the beginning. I was trying to set things up. So you're a little bit late on the trail, but you can still interact. Just type in a comment, and that sucker will eventually, depending upon the magic behind the Google things, eventually it'll go on my comment tracker, and I see it on my wall, and I can respond to you. Okay, but that's up to you, of course. Another area quite a few folks are interested in terms of kinky hypnosis is BDSM. Usually it is BDSM. They always put that together, but actually it's separate pieces. So you got your BD, which is bondage and discipline, but then you got your S&M, which is sadomasochism. They're not really the same thing. They don't always go together. Some people are interested in being tied up who have no interest in the S&M stuff. And so for bondage, that can be a lot of fun. And if you saw my original eroticatrance video set, I do indeed have someone against the... I've hypnotized them. So, I mean, come on. I'm a hypnotist. I don't need ropes. I got all sorts of cool stuff there. Oh, so I apologize. I forgot to turn off my line. So let me real quick get into line. But you're a hypnotist, so you don't really need ropes. You can just, in the original eroticatrance set, I have a volunteer who is placed against the wall, and I just say, you're stuck. And he's, oh, and yes, he. Okay, I'll hypnotize a guy, I'll hypnotize a gal, I'll hypnotize a chicken if I need to. I don't do chickens, although I have friends who do. But he's a up, and then I send over his friend, his special friend, who is a tantra instructor. He actually was a magic practitioner and teacher, but she's got an invisible feather and does all sorts of neat tickling stuff to this poor guy against the wall. Now, in one of the advanced seminars we did recently, I had 4 women up against the wall and 2 guys, and they're all struggling, and their partners are doing all sorts of tickling and erotic stuff. For instance, I can reach right in there and take out your sexual organ. Now, I'm not sure which kind of organ you have here. What have I got here? I got a... Oh, okay, there it is, there it is, there it is, there it is, okay. There you go, there you go, somebody's clitoris. Some of you have clitorises, some of you don't, of the viewers, but I've got a clitoris right here. And so if you don't have a clitoris, normally your penis is now a clitoris, and here I've got it here. And if you normally have a clitoris, well, there it is right there. Didn't realize it was so mobile, right? And so I just take that little clitoris and I can literally take it from your body and do this sort of thing with it. That's your clitoris, and it's nice and wet. You really need wetness there. And you actually have the sensation. Now, you don't have the sensation right now because that's not your clitoris. Your clitoris is where it belongs. Your penis is where it belongs. I don't have your penis right here doing that, okay? And I would never do this to another man's penis. In stage shows, I do that, and people are like, what the fuck? But it is, okay, it's funny to me. But B&D, you can just slap them against the wall and they're struggle, and they don't. They can't move because they've taken the suggestion and it's pleasurable. And trust me, it can be really awesome. You can take those ropes, those invisible ropes, and you can have little special things around the nipples or around the sexual organs, and you can hypnotically suggest that they have vibrators attached. And you can just go bzzz, bzzz, and boom, there it is. Or use, some of you know I use clickers. If you're not familiar with my clicker work, just go to the YouTube channel. The user is David Phillips. You're on the channel now if you're watching this live. And check out the clicker stuff, which is oh so fun. Now let's move to the S&M part of it though. And that's important because some folks are really interested in S&M. It's not my thing, okay? Straight out, pain has never, ever interested me as a person, and particularly as a sexual being. And so it's an alien world. I realize some folks are interested in it. They're sadists and they want to inflict pain, or masochists, they want to be in pain. In my work, I tend to help folks who have that programming try to disrupt the programming actually so they no longer have it. But some folks are indeed interested in S&M and they do things. Now, pain enhancement is an area that S&M fans or aficionados are very interested in. For me, personally, that violates my premise of "and hurt none." However, you can enhance the feeling of a slight slap on the ass or something like that so it seems more pleasurable if you have consent for that. And please, please, please be safe. Some folks go a little too far in some of their scenes, and some folks out there ignore safe words and are, well, psychologically term for them, they're dicks. And so please don't play with dicks. Well, play with dicks if that's your thing, you want to play with dicks, but don't play with the other kind of dick, the pricks, the jerks, the morons, the assholes, the psychopaths. Don't play with psychopaths. All right. Another area of kinky hypnosis, of course, also overlaps into our vanilla hypnosis, and that's orgasm control. Some folks really enjoy the thought of over or hyper stimulation, and that hyper stimulation into sexual response. You get them hotter and hotter and hotter, and then you don't allow someone to climax. So you get them to the point where they really want to come. Oh, I want to come, I want to come, I want to come. And you say, don't come yet, or you shall not be coming today. Ha ha ha, not till I say. And that hyperstimulation. Now, some folks enjoy that sort of play. And I think it's pretty awesome as long as there is a payoff. These folks who play that and then there's no happy ending, so to speak. I never understood that. I enjoy making my partner happy. And so I like the happy part. I like multiple happy. Happy, 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 happy. Or some of you have heard me say, boom, 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 boom. There are videos on the YouTube, once again, or in my products, teaching how to do that. But orgasm control can be incredibly valuable. It can be so much fun. For real, folks. This is awesome stuff. And you can intensify pleasure. I mean, really, in hypnotherapy, one of the issues we have are people who They have either they can't control their climax, so they climax too early. Premature ejaculation is an issue for some men, or for some folks where they just can't release. And that kind of work ties into the kinkiness. If that's what you enjoy, you focus on it. And essentially you can indeed train yourself or train others through hypnotic suggestion with experiential hypnosis to intensify the pleasure. Intensify, 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 but don't come yet, okay? And so they can learn control of their response until it's so intense. And then, of course, in the kinky aspect or the recreational, consenting adult pleasure, it's so intense that they beg or ask permission. And then it's boom. And on the trigger or on the suggestion, boom, things happen. Okay? And that can be really exhilarating and fun for some folks. Of course, if you have issues with premature ejaculation, that ties over, and so you can learn how to control your response. Or if you have trouble just responding sexually and having that pleasure build up, just that act of hypnotically working it through it can be very nice. And trigger response conditioning is the next area that really is of interest to us in that aspect, so that you can trigger, or you set a trigger and the person responds reliably to that trigger. Once again, some of you have seen me do my clicker work. Click, click. I didn't bring my clicker out here. I don't have a clicker here handy to show you the ones I use. I have a box of about 100 of them sitting way over there, and I'm not going to go get it. But the clicker is essentially press a little button, it makes a noise. Okay, you don't need a clicker. I like them because, well, people think they're fun. But honestly, works just as well. Arousal, arousal, arousal. Every time you hear this click or snap, you get more and more sexually aroused. So in a response, now I can build up arousal. Some of you will see me do this, and that can get rather confusing. But it's just arousal. And then if I like, I can do a double for ejaculation or orgasm, depending upon the gender of the person. And when I said ejaculation, it's actually not ejaculation, it's climax. Some men do ejaculate. Those of you who were with me at my last Las Vegas seminar know that one of our gentlemen did, in fact, need to excuse himself. But for the most part, men don't necessarily ejaculate with kinky hypnosis. They can, but see, the thing is, climax and orgasm are two separate things. I know most folks think it's the same thing. It's like, come now! And they think that's climax is the orgasm, but actually it's a different thing mechanistically. My very dear friend Rick Brown wrote a wonderful book on the orgasm, where he broke down the differences between the two. And so you can have a hypnotic orgasm without climax. Most folks want the climax with the orgasm, though. And there you go. That's your climax. Arousal, arousal. Or you just have a word. A really useful word is arousal. Or come now. And those are good solid words. Now when you do that, though, you need to be careful. Because you don't want your significant other out there in the street and someone walks up and says, come here. And then they heard your trigger word. Now some people take care of that by using unusual words. Snuffleupagus. And the thing is, if Sesame Street's on, you might have issues. What I tend to do, and I tell this to all my students, is to make your triggers context sensitive. By context sensitive, it's the person agrees that they want to respond to it, and that it only responds to certain people at certain times. So, a trigger with someone I have an adult consenting relationship with, only works with that person. So it's only when your husband or wife touches you behind the ear. And the behind the ear thing for arousal, right behind the ear, okay? That's a good spot for it because a lot of people have an erogenous zone there. Ooh. It's not the ear itself, it's a space right behind the ear. And I set that in part because that's a natural thing when you're hugging someone. You got your finger right in position. Instead of going on their neck, you just drop it up there and you can look deeply in their eyes and hello, pop that sucker off, okay? In fact, long before I took a formal hypnosis course, long before I do the NLP stuff that I know today, long before I realized you can use this hypnosis stuff for sex. Because I learned hypnosis when I was a kid, okay, and I read every book I could get my hands on, but there weren't any books on erotic hypnosis when I was a kid, and dinosaurs walked the earth. And so when I was at university kissing girls, I didn't realize I could use this stuff. My sex life would have been so different if I'd made that connection. But instead, I learned just naturally. I learned naturally a way of, and I thought everybody did it, a way of just holding someone and kissing them where their entire body just melted. And of course, if you're a hypnotist and you know about responsiveness, you can set that stuff on purpose. I was doing it accidentally and didn't know I was doing that. Or the deep soul kiss, which causes an immediate, complete erotic melt in the person you're with. I just did that naturally. I didn't know that other people didn't do that or didn't know how to do it, or that you could do it on purpose if you know hypnosis. And you can set those things. Just set your little trigger and make sure you say, only when your husband does this, or only when someone you appropriately choose does this. And it's okay to use common words. It's, you don't have to say banana for a desire to have oral sex. Instead, you can say fellatio time, which is an odd thing to say in a consenting adult relationship. It's okay in a seminar context, but most of you aren't going to walk around to someone you love and say, would you like to have some fellatio? Instead, you're going to say, suck my dick, or let's play meat lollipop, or whatever you do, whatever your words. Of course, that's another factor when you're giving suggestions, kinky or otherwise. The explicitness of the language. Some folks are really comfortable with explicit language, and they like the dirty talk. Some people less so. And so you could say things like penis or vagina or cock and cunt or pussy or that special place feels warm and wonderful. Depending upon the person, the context, and the comfort levels for the relationship and the language itself. So do keep it in there. Please remember, those of you who come in a little late, and those of you who have been here all along, you can ask questions. I have a comment tracker running. If you just type in a question on the YouTube, on the video page, and it will show up on my comment tracker. Hopefully, I hope so. I've seen a few. I've got 3 in front of me, so I know that they are there, and so I can respond when we get there. All right, so that's trigger response conditioning. Now, another area of kinky hypnosis that I get questions about, and actually, I just recorded a video for our YouTube series. As you probably know by now, on Tuesdays I do Hypno News, and Wednesdays is tips and tricks and answer questions, and Thursdays is trance time, where I guide people through a trance process. But excuse me, I just recorded a video that we'll be posting on Wednesday about this idea of cuckolding and the hypno slut. Now the hypno slut is, would you hypnotize my wife to, be kinky without her knowing it? And that's the original question I got. And my answer is always no. But if she wants me to, I will. So that's the informed consent thing. But there's this idea of cuckolding. Some folks are interested in a fantasy of being cuckolded. Cuckolding, for those who don't know the word, is my wife has sex with another dude. For some folks, that's a genuine fantasy. For others, not so much. I'm going to go put myself on the side of the not so much, but I realize some folks that's a fantasy, and if that's a fantasy that you have and your wife or husband or boyfriend or girlfriend shares, that's your business. But maybe it's a fantasy and you're not so sure about going through with it. A lot of folks interested in swinging who eventually give it a go have issues, because some folks, their marriages and their relationships aren't really built for that. And so they end up having marital problems after they've gone to a swinging event. You see the eyes wide shut. We see that kind of a thing going on. And really you can have the fantasy without actually doing it through hypnosis. You can do guided fantasy of cheating and things like that. I have a dear friend who's an excellent hypnotist who has played games with his wife for personality shifting. And so they enter into trance and they each see the other person as someone else, or they believe there's someone else. An incredibly popular actress from Hong Kong a few years ago was, more than a few years ago, I forget, I'm really old, but Yip Zi-mei, who for a while was considered the Chinese Marilyn Monroe, which is really stupid because she has no equivalence to Marilyn Monroe at all. She's essentially this really buxom woman. She was a big breast babe, okay, and that was her call to fame. And so this guy hypnotizes his wife, and she believes she's Yip Zi-mei. Or he's hypnotized his wife, and she believed he was Brad Pitt. And so they had these fantasies, and they could identify with those fantasies and become a fantasy character or a role-play character for their cuckolding fantasy. But it's also something you can do for other fantasies. It's highly unlikely anyone watching this video right now is going to ever have the opportunity to have sex with Brad Pitt or Yip Zi-mei. Highly unlikely, possible, I don't know you, but that's a fantasy you can do. Of course, I think, why limit yourself to some Hollywood star? Let's go with it. Aliens, dude. You can be an alien and have 3 penises in your mind. And you really, even though you don't physically have 3 penises, boom, it feels like you've got 3 penises. Remember when I reached over and I grabbed the clitoris? Well, you can stick them suckers everywhere. So you've got a penis nose. Go ahead, touch your penis. And notice you feel it. You feel it as if you're playing with your penis or your clitoris. And you can play around. You can do all sorts of wonderful things. You don't have to limit yourself. Kinkiness is freedom. Kinkiness is expression. It's imagination. So let's do some pretty awesome stuff, folks. Let's have fun. In fact, one fetish area that some folks look at it and they think that's fucking weird. Other folks look at it and think, well, that's interesting. Okay. And that's the furry folks. the furry folks. The furry folks are the ones who they imagine themselves as animal characters. Okay? Now extend that, you get the plushies who actually dress up in these plush anamorphic animal-based things, and then they go out and have sex in those, but you don't need that whole costume. To be a furry or a plushie, you can use hypnosis. Those of you familiar with my metaphysical work or the psychic hypnosis set, you know about shapeshift, you know about animal spirit guide processes, and you may know about shapeshifting. And shapeshifting is using trance, and of course in my sathing work, I use that quite a bit. The berserkers, the Old Norse berserkers, used a form of animal attachment. So you take on the spirit of the bear or the wolf for aggression and power or whatever. But in hypnosis, you can shift and you can feel your body change. You can feel your body change so that it seems as if you are another species, another shape. You can do, on my website, you can see, I've played with this a lot. I've got the erotic stuff. We've got the wolf changing for a man who becomes a wolf man, a werewolf kind of creature with his werewolf penis. And then we've also got the Feline Fantasy audio set of a woman who changes into a feline in heat. And you can actually, for some people, you practice enough, you get an experiential state, you can physically feel the hands shift into claws, you feel the jaw extend, you feel the canines, the teeth coming through, and the hair on the body grows so it becomes fur, and you can have the positive hallucination. Some folks can do this with eyes open, others with the eyes shut, feeling it as if it's fur and it grows. And it can be pretty awesome for those with an interest in that sort of fetish. And it can be pretty awesome. Yeah. Meow. Roar. Trust me, it can be awesome. But that shapeshifter thing can really be something. Another fetish area folks have an interest in is age play. Oh, excuse me, mama. That kind of creeps me out, is the mama daddy thing. But people enjoy that. Let them do what they want. But age play. Age play, hey, of shifting into another age where you can age yourself really old. Yes, there are folks who want to experience sex as a very old person, and there are folks who want to be a baby again. And you can play with that sort of thing. You can do all sorts of fun things with age play. Of course, you can have fantasy enactment. Fantasy enactment, of course, is where whatever fantasy you have, okay? And I thought I turned that off. Okay. And so you can actually play around with the idea of becoming the person or thing in the fantasy you have. I've said, now in terms of just recreational hypnosis, there are folks who enjoy dragons, so they can ride a dragon in their fantasy, and they can actually feel as if they're riding a dragon. Well, how about you want to have sex as a Birdman? You know, you like Michael Keaton movies, or as an angel. And so you've got these wings, and this is a fantasy that I've done with folks, where they fly up, they're naked, they've got wings, and they can feel the wings, the bird-like feathers. They have loop-de-loops and sex in the air, or in the ocean as a merman or a mermaid. You can have an orgy down in the ocean. You can breathe because you're a merman or mermaid, or in space, and you have sex with an alien, and the alien's got the tentacle. We're talking hentai, tentacle porn with all sorts of huge, long, snaky penises in every single orifice, and you're doing all this stuff. And you can enact those fantasies, you can experience those fantasies, just let your kinkiness through. Now, some folks, like the cuckolding thing, are interested in threesomes, foursomes, moresomes, but they don't want to actually go through with it. And so kinky hypnosis allows them to experience those fantasies. Or if they actually do want to go through with it, and they really want to bolster themselves so they don't go through the pitfalls that many folks have, where they get jealousy and marriages or relationships fall apart after they've experimented with swinging. But these folks want to be able to be comfortable with it. You can use hypnosis to allow you to engage the part of yourself that's interested and the part of yourself that's not, and resolve things. NLP, folks, 6-step reframe for kinky sex. Or hypnotherapists, parts therapy, to allow one to work through issues related to their desire to become more open about consenting adult activities. Shared fantasies work, guided imagery. There's a lot of cathartic, therapeutic aspects to this kind of work and that sort of thing. If you have questions, be sure to ask me. Be sure to just type that sucker in and ask me. We're getting close to the end of our time together, so if you have any last minute questions, please type them in now. Those of you who came in late, you're going to hear this after we've already closed it. But I hope that you have enjoyed this little introduction to KINKNOSIS. If you have more questions, feel free to just email me and contact me on Facebook or on my website. You can contact me at brian@briandavidphillips.com. Ask questions, and I'm happy to continue the dialogue. Maybe we'll use one of your questions for one of our upcoming videos. For Tuesdays, I've been doing Hypno News and rants. I rant a lot. I am a ranter. I have a card that says ranter. Wednesdays is techniques, tricks, methods, and that's also when I go through and answer folks' questions. So news and rants on Tuesdays, questions on Wednesdays and Thursdays is trance time. Trance time is where I guide you through a ecstatic trance experience. Okay, once a month we have webinars and seminars scheduled, so please join us. Those of you who are watching this video not live but archived, and I will upload the higher quality version soon. Please like the video, comment, and share. Okay, and oh yes, click subscribe. Click subscribe to our channel, and of course join our website. Okay, until next time, this is Dr. Brian David Phillips saying, live trance and prosper and keep it kinky, friends. Bye bye.